Welcome to Coaching the Coach. I'm your host, Coach KP, and welcome back, my brother from another mother, Coach JC. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, man? You'll notice that I changed. I was critiqued. It said it looked like I was going to run some sort of jihadist video in the office here. So I've added a little bit more color, so it doesn't look like I'm going to threaten to chop anybody's head off in here.
I love it. I love it. Hey, I got a quick question for you, JC. When you hear the word perseverance, when you hear the word tenacity, persistence, what are some of the things that immediately come to mind? I mean, I'm not looking for a definition, obviously, but I mean, you have a very unique background. You come from a very unique world in the special operations community, being with the 75th Ranger Regiment, but then also as a coaching professional lacrosse. So when you hear those words, persistence, tenacity, perseverance, what is it that comes to your mind?
So the first thing I think about is Ranger School and not quitting Ranger School, no matter how bad the suck got, moving forward and continuing on and watching other guys fall by the wayside and staying on it and continuing and keep driving on to the next phase, to the next objective. The second thing I think of, though, quite honestly, is resiliency, right? I think about, with athletes, how do I take somebody who's never been to Ranger School or never been in combat, doesn't understand that will, that drive to continue on. And the idea, I talk about embrace the suck, embracing the suck, meaning to kind of love your fate, right? And move forward and keep going. Just have a plan that, this is horrible, but I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep driving. I'm going to adapt. I'm going to overcome this. And that's what I think of when I think about coaching is, how do I explain to athletes that thing that exists certainly in Ranger School, it exists certainly in combat, getting them to understand that on the field, okay, this is worth, giving them the hope. This is something worth doing and you can do it.
I love it. And I kind of set you up for this because when I hear those words, perseverance, persistence, tenacity, I admit, and he doesn't know me. Tonight's the first time we ever spoke, really conversationally. But I think of one person in particular, and I hope he doesn't feel this as some weird stalking moment by any means, but I think of this guy, Earl Granville. Now, Earl Granville came to the world's attention not too long ago. He ran the Boston Marathon, but what really struck America and the world was he did it as an amputee, and when he crossed the finish line, he had this beautiful woman over his shoulders carrying her across. And it was just one of those moments where I don't care what branch of the service you served in. I don't care if it was the Air Force, the Coast Guard, Navy, whatever. I don't care what your duty was in the branch of the service. It was just one of those moments where you were so bloody proud that this guy was leading the way and representing more than just himself, more than just the U.S. military, but he was representing who we are as a people that refuse to quit. And he's got one hell of a story. So without ado, ladies and gentlemen, Earl Granville. Earl, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, guys. Thank you for having me. I'm honored. I appreciate it.
You got it. So right now, I mean, I know a little bit about your story. Obviously not enough. You're the type of guy that I think I could sit down with over a good scotch or a beer or whatever and probably listen to for hours on end. I find you fascinating, what little I know about you, because I don't know how many people have the mindset that you have to just continuously push yourself. I mean, forget the Boston Marathon. I mean, you do. I mean, you work out religiously. I've seen you, videos in the gym and stuff like that, and all pumping 100-pound dumbbells and stuff like that. And all. I mean, like, you stay fit, and I have to assume your fitness isn't just from physical fitness. You keep your mind, body, and soul fit equally. Because if you don't, I don't see how you'd keep going. So with that said, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What's your background? Why you became the face of the veteran community, specifically with the amputees and the Boston Marathon, how that all came about and so forth. Just give us some background, please.
Sure. So, when I was in high school, my twin brother Joe was talking about joining the military, and back then I had no desire. It was not in my cards. I think I big music guy. Play guitar a little bit. Went to shows a lot, and I always thought to myself, man, I don't want to work for the government. That was my attitude at the time, I feel like. And when Joe and I turned 16, we purchased the car together and we shared it. And at this point, he was already talking to a recruiter, and he was looking at the National Guard. And one evening, I had the vehicle, and he asked if I could give him a ride to go talk to his recruiter. He had to go sign something from his recruiter. And you see where this is going, right? Like,
Yeah.
So here I am, like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess I'll join the Guard. But why I joined the military, it wasn't to fight for my country, for something bigger than myself. Strictly just for an education. That's it. It was about me. That's what not because I was in that mindset at the time. Joe and I graduated high school. We landed in Fort Benning, Georgia, September 1st, 2001. And you guys know what happened 11 days later. And
Yeah.
when towers got hit, being a basic training, we didn't have access to TV. We didn't have access to newspapers. We didn't even know what the heck was going on. Rumors were flying around like crazy. Like, all the monuments in DC were bombed. Like, it was nuts. And I just remember looking at Joe and saying, dude, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I didn't sign up for this. Still having that horrible attitude. Joe talked me from going AWOL because I was a little punk, I guess, back then. And I was like, dude, I don't want to do this. And talked me out of it. We graduated boot camp together. Came home. I was looking at colleges. About 3 weeks from coming home, college was going to have to put on hold because we got orders for Bosnia. Nice, easy deployment. There's no real threat to us. It was the end of, I guess, NATO forces fully being there. I think we were the third last rotation of U.S. forces that were there. So basically what I'm saying, nice, easy, chill deployment. Came home, got 2 semesters in. We got a warning order for Iraq. It was a volunteer mission. And Joe volunteered right away. And I was going to stay back and just grind at school. And I waited a few days, and I thought, God forbid if something happened to Joe over there, I should go too. And guys, I got to tell you, it was the best decision I ever made. Every time at this point in my military career, it was about me. And what can I get out of this? What can I get about this? What can the military do for me, basically? And going to Iraq.
No way. I think that's pretty common. I think it's a lot more common than the public really understands. More often than not, young troops that go into the service, they do it for their own personal reasons. Very rare do I think it's just about serving their country. They have their own ulterior motives behind it.
Well, I think going to Iraq, became an NCO, and I realized, the situation we're in over there, it's not about me, it's about us. And that's, you guys, you've experienced it well, I can imagine. The camaraderie, the brotherhood, all that stuff, and I just loved it. And I realized this is not about my schooling. And I played sports in high school, but this is just a higher element of us. And right. I realized this is something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I enjoyed leading, and I re-upped my contract over there. That was that. We came home. I was still in the Guard, so I got 2 more semesters in. I got my associates, and we got a warning order for Afghanistan. It was another volunteer mission. I jumped on that bandwagon right away. I was like, dude, nope, I want to go. This is what I want to do. Joe, on the other hand, he stayed back. At this time in his life, he was married and they were looking to start a family. And he says, I can't just volunteer for deployments anymore, so I'm going to stay back. And he asked if I would stay back too. And I said, nope, sorry, dude. I'm cutting this cord. And went to Afghanistan in 2008, and we were part of the Providence Reconstruction Team over there. We call it PRT for short. If you guys are unfamiliar with it, what the PRT was doing, they were help rebuilding and working with the Afghan community of helping, it's kind of like a humanitarian mission. We were the security force in our PRT, helping our engineers, our civil affairs officers, being their security, escorting them while they would have meetings with village elders, Afghan politicians, on rebuilding schools and renovating hospitals, maybe building a well for a village, stuff like that. It was
just out of curiosity, Earl. And it's literally from my own personal curiosity. What province were you at in 2008 doing that?
Paktia Providence. We were Gardez.
I was right north of you during that time. Nangarhar, Kunar, Nuristan.
Oh, get out of here. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and
Cool.
I was in and out of there exactly that same time.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
All three of us, 2008 period. Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah.
And well, anyway, I got promoted to staff sergeant, was taking more responsibilities. And so you guys familiar, I guess, the way how being the security force, we would escort like these people I mentioned earlier, and civil affairs would always sit in the back seat. Engineers would always sit in the back seat, so on and so forth. One civil affairs officer in our PRT, he was the only one that liked to be in charge of the vehicle he was riding in. His name was Major Scott Haggerty. And I saw on the roster that day, we had to escort him to school. I saw he was going to be in my vehicle, so I knew he was going to take my job as the vehicle commander. And I don't put up a fight. I was like, dude, I'll just gun for you, man. That's cool. And I put my gunner as a passenger in another vehicle. And it was kind of neat getting behind the 50 cal. And so our fourth day of this mission we spent a lot of those days in a little town called Zormont. And the final day, we had to go look at a site where we were going to build a school. And Major Haggerty was a vehicle commander. We had an Afghan governor in the back of the vehicle, which Major Haggerty was communicating with. And my driver that day was Specialist Derek Holland. And I remember leaving this site for this school, and it was the first time I saw in Afghanistan that I saw bright green grass. And I remember saying to myself, shortly after I said that, the next thing I remember what happened was I saw nothing but black. Okay. And the sound I described what I was hearing is, when you put your head underwater, it's like a faint noise.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's the best way to describe what was going on. Opened my eyes. Big, beautiful sky. 2:30 in the afternoon over there. To the left of me, the vehicle's completely destroyed. And I look at my legs. I'm on the ground. And my feet were almost 90 degrees backwards, and I was full of blood. And I realized at that point, holy shit, we just hit an IED. And all I wanted to do was stand up. And things going through my head, are we getting ambushed? Is anybody else hurt? And for a split second, I'm just trying to assess everything, and I can't even really take care of myself, just my own body aid. And this is it. This is how I'm going to go right here. Well, being that we're part of the PRT, we were working, a lot of these branches work together in specific PRTs, and we worked a lot with the Air Force that day. And Doc Jones, an Air Force medic, started working on me immediately. And it was him, two of my other soldiers, and an Afghan police officer, because I have to note with this as well, being that we had the Afghan governor in my vehicle, he also had his own escorts, like in their own pickup trucks that were part of our patrol. And the four of them carried me behind an MRAP. And when they moved me behind the MRAP for cover, they walked me right past 2 body bags, and that was Derek and Scott. And Derek just turned 20 years old about 6 weeks prior, so he was just a kid. So the medevac chopper came. They put me on the chopper, and shortly before it took off, I realized they were putting somebody else on. It was that Afghan governor. So he lived. And he looked a lot worse than I did. And the third person to get him on the helicopter was that Afghan police officer who carried my litter. And, he was just going to go with the governor to be his escort on, this, I guess, his journey, whatever you want to call it, just to have one of his own there. And then this guy was laying to my right. This dude was dying. He's moaning and groaning. He's holding this guy's hand because it just seemed like the right thing to do at the time. When they were taking us to medevac, the medevac took us to Bob Salerno at the MASH unit there, and they stabled us a little bit, and then they put us back on a chopper, and then they were taking us to Bagram Hospital, the main U.S. hospital out there. And all I wanted to do at this point, now the adrenaline's off, I had my morphine shots, but I'm in pain, and all I want to do is kind of look up at my legs, like kind of just pick my head up and see what they look like at this point. And I kept getting one of these, right? And then I wanted to look up again, and I get another one of these. And about 4 times of doing that on this travel to Salerno to Bagram, I look up and see who the hell's doing it, and it was that Afghan police officer. And he pet my head, and he just kind of looked at me and just shook my head like, just relax, dude. Now, when we finally got to Bagram, I saw some familiar faces there. At this point, I was attached to 103rd Armor on this deployment. It was an armor unit, and our company commander was there. And the doctor came into my room, and they were talking about doing operation on my right hip immediately. And in the middle of the doctor talking to me, this Afghan police officer comes in once again, and he walks right up to the bed, and he has a big smile on his face, and he just does this, and he starts communicating with me. I really didn't understand what he was saying. There was obvious language barrier there, but we all read. We all read people, and this dude was obviously giving me compassion. And the reason why I'm so distinct on this is because we're always told, don't trust these people, because look, it happens, man. They go blue on green, and just one day they just start shooting at us. But this dude right here was obviously not one of those guys, and I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. And every time I meet people and greet people, I always do this, and I learned it from him, and that just always stuck in my head. The next day, I don't know, it was a few days later. I'm not sure what it was. The next thing I remember, I'm being woken up in Germany, and I realized I was in Launchville Air Force Base, and the doctor told me they were going to have to amputate your left leg. Now, guys, I got to be honest with you. I feel very optimistic about everything that happened. Major Haggerty took my seat that day. That saved my life, all right? Hey, and I said to the doc, you know what, you do what you got to do. My right leg was salvageable, but my left leg they got rid of. So, 2 more surgeries in Germany, and finally they shipped me back to Walter Reed Army Medical Center, where this is going to be my home for quite some time. And after 3 days of being there with a few operations, my family finally gets a green light to come down. And it was my immediate family, so my mom, my dad, and my siblings. And one by one, they had to take turns visiting me in the ICU. Well, Joe finally comes into my room. It's my first time seeing him in so long. And I'm feeling good. I'm pretty happy to see him. What's up? I'm in a beat up state, but I feel pretty good. And I can say that with so much confidence. And Joe's a complete opposite.
Right.
And he just beat himself up, man. Hey, I should have just gone with you, man. I'm like, dude, don't think that way, man. There's nothing you could have done. This is the dice that was rolled, and that was it. What else can we do? And knowing I just know Joe. I know how he is. I know we're twins, but we're so bad at being twins. I guess you could put it that way. They were so different. He's into sports. I was into music. Like, it's just how it is. But and
I have a set of twin little girls, by the way. You're not alone, because my 2 twin girls are complete opposites.
it's interesting how it is like that.
Yeah.
In this moment, Joe, even out of all our friends growing up, Joe was the guy. Joe was kind of, I don't want to say the leader, but hey man, like when things had to be taken control or when things had to be ironed out, Joe would be that guy. Okay, like yeah, and it was just how he was, how he carried himself. So I think seeing me like this, and he was the better soldier out of the 2 of us, and absolutely, he was just very, very good at his job, and I was just a regular dude. Well, seeing me like this, I guess he obviously took a toll on him. And no matter how I was trying to explain to him, dude, I'm okay. Hey, man, at least my balls didn't get blown off. I'm going to be all right, right? He just didn't want to hear that shit. And, it's in my time at Walter Reed, I got to tell you, it was pretty awesome. I got my independence back there. The culture of the military never left. Like, and what I mean by that is the ball busting was still there. And
Right.
I truly believe that it was so great in our recovery. Looking back at it, reflecting on it, you don't think about it when you're there, but I look back and you also see, like, this is now 2008. The surge in Iraq has already happened, so there's a lot of wounded guys there. A lot of them are amputees, and you're seeing the guys and the ability and what they're doing when you're getting there. So you think to yourself, like, all right, this isn't going to be so bad. Like, we're going to get through this. And it took me a long time to start walking. Okay, like my right leg was getting more and more surgeries, and I'm seeing guys who got wounded after me walk before I was. So I was a little frustrated. I'm impatient because I'm in a wheelchair for all this time. And finally, the day came. I got fitted for a socket, and they said by next week you're going to be getting that hard cast off. We'll put you in an air cast, and you can finally be weight bearing once again. So when that day came, I was like, yes, here we are. I bring my socket with me, and we go down to physical therapy. I'm on the parallel bars, going back and forth, wearing my prosthetic, vertical for the first time in so long. And all right, man, let's go for a walk. What else can we do? Let's keep going. And all right, it's like, let's hit the track right here in physical therapy. It's like, hey, that sounds great, man. So I went to the track, but before I could start walking, they made me wear this vest. I'm like, what the hell's the vest for? Okay. So on the back of the vest is a hook, all right? And that hook attaches to the rope. And that rope is actually on a rail system on the ceiling that's parallel with the track. And I think to myself, well, I'm not running, man. Like, if I fall, I'll just, like, kind of get back up. Like, I'm not going to bust my teeth,
Right.
Like, I'll be okay. But protocol, you got to do it, okay? So they hooked me up to this vest, and I'm ready to go. And said, hang on, one more thing. My physical therapist, her name was Kyla. Kyla comes up, and she hands me a walker. Grading walker, tennis balls and all, man. You know what I mean? And I was just like...
You're pretty much insulted at that, right?
I'm thinking to myself, I don't need this, man. But everyone has to go through it. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one that felt like this, okay? Here I am doing this, doing my laps with the granny walker. And there's a Marine there. And the only reason why I knew he was a Marine because all the Marines at PT, they wore those green shirts. And he's doing push-ups on his PT mat. And what's really catches your eye about this Marine just doing push-ups is he's missing both his legs at his hips, so he doesn't have a stump or a residual limb at all. And one of his arms is amputated. I can't remember which one, at his forearm. So he has both his elbows, but he's missing a hand. And the prosthetic he's wearing is it just has like a stopper at the end. It's not like a hand or anything. It's just like a rubber stopper.
So he's a triple amputee.
Yes. And this guy's doing push-ups like it's nobody's business. Now, he's doing push-ups. He has no legs, so he's pushing his whole body right up into the air. And here I am in my granny walker doing my laps. And I swear this dude saw my attitude and saw how it was. Because after about my 4th lap, I get closer to where he is. He sits up, he takes his headphones off, and he looks right at me in the eye and said, "Would you lighten up, you paper cut?" And you know what, man? I thought, you know what? I think that's a kick in the ass I friggin' need at this point. My attitude was beating the shit out of me because obviously I'm not going to be in this walker forever. And, you know, it's absolutely right. I was beating myself up.
Right.
Obviously I started walking independent again. Things are great. Moving forward, learning how to snowboard once again with a special prosthetic leg. And I went to Vail, Colorado to do that. Playing ice hockey. I don't know if you heard of sled hockey.
Yeah.
I was playing sled hockey with the team down at Walter Reed. And things were good, right? Medically retired, and I went home. Went back to Scranton, Pennsylvania. And my time down there, back home, you know, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but I was kind of enjoying retirement for a few months, and I started looking into school. So I got my associates at Lackawanna College at this point, and I was going to move forward and look into the University of Scranton. Well, while I was, I started dating a girl, and
See, this is when the trouble really starts. It's not the war story. It's not the IED. It's not Walter Reed. You found, now we're going to hear the real problems.
Yeah. You bring a girl into the
Yeah.
dilemma.
Okay. Here we go.
she's a little, she has nothing to do with it. But what I was getting at with her, this girl is a nurse at a hospital in Scranton, okay? And it's around Christmas time of 2010. And everyone in her department, like the doctors she works with, all the doctors like to take the staff out for a black tie event. You know, thanks for the awesome year kind of thing. You know what I mean? And, you know, good job, guys. So it was a week before Christmas. I'm getting ready. All right, I get out of the shower, put my suit pants on, put my prosthetic on, and I have, put my undershirt on, and I'm doing my hair, and my phone rings, and I see it was my mom, and I just let it go to voicemail because I'm in the middle of getting ready. So I wash my hands, get the hair gel out, and then I listen to voicemail, and she's distraught on the other end, and she says, "You need to call me immediately." And so, all right, fine. So I give her a call, and when she picks up the phone, she says my name so ever somber on the other end, and I can tell she's crying. And I said, "Mom, what's the matter?" And her words were, "Joe committed suicide." And that was the worst day of my life, guys. How could I get this second chance at life and then Joe take his away? You can imagine what the energy was like on that phone. I hit the ground and I screamed. She said it loud enough that the girl I was dating at the time, she heard it. She started bawling her eyes out. And I got to tell you, man, I don't remember what else was said on the phone call. And the very next thing I did when I hung up that phone, and honest to God, somebody called me out on this, and I was like, I don't care if you believe me or not, but this is exactly what I did. I went right into my kitchen, and every single ounce of alcohol I had, I poured it right down the drain. And I grew up with an alcoholic, and I thought to myself, I just remember those times growing up when my old man got pissed at something, and he just, grabbed a beer, or he left and went to the bar. And I just thought to myself, if I grabbed something right here, I was fucked.
Yeah.
After that, I got off my social media to just not want to hear all the noise, but it's irrelevant. It's just going to happen anyway. Yeah. People start coming at my house. My phone is going off the hook, and it is what it is, man. I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle anything. I didn't leave the house at all that day. I didn't sleep that night. But the next day, I had to go to Joe's house, and at Joe's house is his wife and his kids, and Joe is active guard reserve in the guard unit at this point. And but his job before that, he was a corrections officer at SCI Waymore, a state prison in Pennsylvania. And all of his CO buddies are there. And guys, I'm finally putting faces to these names. And you can imagine the energy in this house. And It is now Sunday. Tomorrow's a working day. It would be December 20th is the next day. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to the Armory tomorrow. And I just said, are you guys doing anything tomorrow? Would you come with me? Just drive me to the Armory. I just didn't want to drive for whatever reason. And I wanted people with me. And went to the Armory. There's my old readiness NCO. I gave him a hug. There's Joe's desk over there. I started putting stuff in a box. And I stopped what I was doing, and I went right to Sergeant Peterson, and I was like, hey, man, the show have benefits. The show get, what's first? Kids. Is the military going to pay for a funeral? Hey, I need you to go to 40 Town Gap. I need you to get me these lists of awards for Joe's uniform. It's going to be an open casket. Hey, I need you to go with me to the funeral home. We're going to take Joe's wife. We're going to go pick out a casket. And I just started keeping myself so freaking busy, right? Like, it's like here I am prepping for my brother's funeral, but I'm not even registering what I'm doing. Does that make sense? Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Keeping myself so active, keeping myself going, keep myself moving. Well, the day came. Joe's wake. The next day was his funeral. Here I am in my dress blues, give him his final salute, and that's it. Now what? I'm sure you guys heard idle hands is a devil, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me. Now, I just went right back into the mode right when I first joined the military, and it made everything about me. I played the victim. I just felt sorry for myself, and I felt like the world owed me everything. Wearing a shirt that says that apparel line, dysfunctional veteran. And I look at that now and I roll my eyes, and it's like so negative. And I was just, guys, I was a shithead. That's all I was. And let me ask you guys. I mean, where does playing a victim get you?
No, it never gets you anywhere, and that's. But to a degree, I think. I mean, let's face it, man. You really, you've been through hell and back, and I think when people endure tragedy in their own lives, I think it's only fair that people have, let's just call it a quote unquote grace period. You know what? Let it out. It's okay to feel sorry for yourself for a little bit, but at one point or another, you got to stop it, and you got to find a way to get past that and move forward. Especially when it comes to a family tragedy, because your family members would never want you to be that person. They don't want you to be down. I've had family tragedies. My spouse has had horrible family tragedies. I think most people, to some degree, have. Maybe not the same as yours, but to everybody's tragedy, it's different.
Right.
And at one point or another, you have to finally say, okay, I've hit the rock bottom. Somehow or another, I got to get back on my own 2 feet.
Right.
But you did that.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, Ranger buddy, let me give you a little perspective of a guy who, by the way, has 4 suicide attempts myself. I want, as coaches are listening to this, here's what I want coaches to take away from your story. I think a lot of coaches will take away and again, I'm going to use similar language. Hey, you pussy, look at this fucking guy, and don't feel sorry for yourself. Fucking let's drive on and let's keep going. And I think that's the wrong thing to take away from this story.
Right.
I think, look, I'm with Coach on this, right? We gotta, and you gotta be like, I get it. You're explaining to us kind of the situation, what got you out of that next level, and
right.
you're being a little hard on yourself, brah. I mean, seriously, like you did some really smart things, and you didn't go into the bottle that a lot of us do. You didn't go into anywhere else. You did what our lizard brain tells us to do, which is protect ourselves, and it's we talk, Coach and I have talked here about, unconscious bias, right? Everybody's like, oh, unconscious bias, it's bad. Fuck no, it's not bad. It's kept you alive for eons, right? It says, holy shit, something's wrong. Let me look at it closer. And then we got to move that to the prefrontal cortex, and which, by the way, for youth coaches, your players don't have those fully developed yet. They're still out there in la la land. How old are you at this time? When you're going through this.
I'm 27 when Joe passed
All right.
away.
So here's the deal. Your prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed, right? So your ability to make complex decisions, prefrontal cortex doesn't even fully evolve for about 3 decades. And so your ability to make complex decisions is hindered by your own brain. So the lizard brain takes over, that thing in the back, and it goes, shit, I have to survive. And what we have to do is we have to accept that, and we have to go, okay, this is what my body naturally does. Because saying that it's fucked up or saying that it's wrong, you're gonna have to bleep the shit out of this episode.
No, I'm not bleeping anything.
But saying that that's wrong is completely incorrect, because what you're saying then is your body's wrong, your brain's wrong, your physiological response to that kind of stress is wrong, right? And what what you've said throughout here, I mean, I'm so fucking fired up and inspired by your entire story. But I want coaches to know, like, what you went through. Yeah, that was your piece. But let's take a kid who's 12 years old, who's a lacrosse player and continues to miss the cage, and he feels bad about it. And the coach goes, well, I listened to this podcast and this guy lost a leg and he lost a brother, and get over your shit. Yeah, but that guy, his fear, his sadness, his reaction to the situation, that's real for him.
Right.
You can't do that comparative analysis. It's totally different.
What I like to call that is adversity is never a pissing contest.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
That's going on our wall. That's going to be the quote of the day.
I love it.
Because how I see it all the time. And in this line of work that I do now, if I speak somewhere, my social media will, kind of blow up a little bit with people who were sitting in the audience. Maybe they didn't want to talk to me face to face, because some of the stuff people put on me, and I get a lot of people, man, I feel like a fucking pussy because I couldn't, I'm dealing with my shit, and then I hear yours, and I was like, well, don't compare our shit, man. Like whether it doesn't matter whose is worse. Let's take a perspective. How do I get to where they're at? What tools did they have to get me where I could be like that? That's
it. You're nailing it. So what I tell, because I get the same thing, right? I talk to big groups, I talk to sports teams, and they'll be like, oh yeah, well, I don't do anything like that. And I always say this, hey, is my fear of spiders more important than your fear of snakes? And they're like, well, no, they're both exactly. I can't look at you and go, well, snakes are nothing. Spiders, that's what you should be afraid of. No, they're exactly the same to us. So, a girl not getting a date to the prom, or a boy not getting the date to the prom, and they feel bad about that, that's real for them. And that's like the biggest thing that they've gone through. And to sit there and say, oh, wait, it's going to get worse. What the fuck kind of help is that?
Exactly, dude. That, I remember my cousin, I guess what his mother, my aunt, said, you're a kid. You're not stressed. You're just a kid. And I remember him telling me about that, and he was like, "What the fuck does that mean? Like, I'm supposed to just be okay with all this shit in my life,
right. Yeah, don't worry, it'll all get worse, and then you'll really have something to worry about."
Exactly.
That's a lot to look forward to.
It's such a horrible attitude.
Yeah, you're 100%, and that's what as coaches are listening to your story, which is incredibly inspirational, and I mean, I'm feeling it, right? It's cathartic. I want them to, one of the things I want them, because there's like 5 or 6 things to walk away from this story with, is look, give that athlete a little bit of time to suck it up a little bit, to go to process and to go, that really sucks. I let everybody down, whatever it is. Absolutely. Yeah, we got to do that.
And I think especially with kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to just kick a kid in the ass. You know what I mean? I think an adult who's gone through a lot of things in their life, a lot of little heavy things can lead you to help you prepare for the big heavy thing that may happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for a kid, when nothing really has heavy has happened, maybe when that little heavy things happen and they react like the world's over. I get it. You know, we don't want to see a child act like that, but they have to process it a little bit. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%, brother.
Yeah.
100%.
You know, so I got to say, like, what I like to teach my audience is when these things happen in my life, I reflect on everything. Like I said, the last thing I said, I was making everything about me again. I was maybe I understand what you're saying. Maybe
Yeah.
I beat myself up a little bit, but I know when I reflect, I was making some piss poor decisions, and I was hurting the ones I loved. I don't get me wrong. I mean, I drink now. I mean, I don't drink that much. I mean, I'm just a social drinker once every few weeks or something. But at that time, I did grab the bottle. I did grab some heavy stuff at one point in my life, and I was self-destructing big time. You know, something for, you know, we're working with athletes here. I turned into Uncle Rico. You guys seen Napoleon Dynamite?
Yeah, I can throw right over those mountains.
Exactly. And I was that guy reminding everybody what I was doing in my military service. Okay? Like I like in reality, nobody gives a shit. And for me, that's in the past. Okay? And now that I look back at it, I'm not saying don't have pride. You should have pride in what you've accomplished, what you did. But when you let that pride turn into self-ego, that self-ego is going to cause you to self-destruct. And that's exactly what I was doing. You know, I plateaued, and that was it. And I didn't know what it was. Losing my leg, losing my brother, losing my career. It was, you know, a lot of things at once. And I'll be honest, when I first lost my career, I felt good about it because things in my mind, things could have been a lot worse. Like I said, I got lucky that day I lost my leg. But losing Joe, everything just came down, and my attitude went to shit. And what helped me get back up, guys, is I joined an organization called Operation Enduring Warrior. Okay, and how I joined this organization was, I'll back up a little bit. Where I mentioned Joe's correction officer buddies for a reason. After meeting these guys, they all told me how Joe was so proud of the things I was accomplishing, like I was snowboarding and all that shit. Joe would never tell me. We wouldn't talk like that. Like Joe, we don't talk about like that with each other. Like, hey, good job, man. We don't, you know, it just. I think a lot of siblings just don't do that. You know,
Right.
especially at that age. So hearing this from these guys, I thought, you know what? Would Joe be proud of me now? Because I feel like I'm acting like a shithead. So in my mind, instead of making it about me, I decided to make things about Joe. So I physically challenged myself. I pushed myself to step out of my comfort zone and do more things. And that led me to eventually, you know, getting involved in CrossFit, going back to the gym. I started running. And my first ever Spartan race I did, I ended up doing it in Wintergreen, Virginia. And it was an 8-miler. And I thought to and I went in a little cocky, like, oh, I did a Tough Mudder before, and that was 11 miles, so this is nothing. Well, I didn't realize these Spartan races are on Black Diamond Mountains.
Right.
And as we're driving up the night before up this huge friggin' mountain, my friend Amanda Sullivan was with me. I was like, is this what we're climbing tomorrow? Well, the next morning, I walked into that ski lodge where you pick up your bib. It's August, by the way, so it's, you know, it's a hot day in Virginia. And this gentleman walks up to me, and he puts his hand out, and he says, hey, Earl, nice to meet you. And this guy's name was Noah Galloway. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Noah. For the audience out there, he's on the cover of Men's Health magazine. He was on Dancing with the Stars. And what's very distinct about Noah is he's missing his left arm, his left leg from an IED blast back in Iraq when he was serving with the 101st Airborne. And it's a guy I've known, so he's introducing himself to me, and in my mind I'm thinking, I know who you are, dude. You're a badass. I look up to, you know what I mean? Well, he's running with this organization called Operation Enduring Warrior, and their mission is to help wounded and disabled veterans continue to live an active lifestyle. And they're running the Spartan race today, and he asked if I want to run alongside them. And I'm like, sure, yeah, man, I'd be honored to. Well, these guys, before they get to the starting line, they're all multi-cams. They go into the side of the building, and they all put gas masks on, like these Avon gas masks. And I was like, holy shit, these guys are badass. Like, to me, I'm just like, wow. Like, okay, I cannot complain of anything today. And at that time, it was the most physical thing I've done after I lost my leg was that race at that time. And after the race, Noah says, do you want to join the team? And I was like, you know what? Let me sit on it. Sat on it for a while, and I was like, you know, I'm not going to let this opportunity slip away. Absolutely. Well, you have to go through an indoctrination. Okay. I had to go to Fort Bragg, and they just put us through hell for a weekend. There was 10 people in my class to earn a spot on the team, and only 5 of us passed, and I was one of them. And for the first time in my new life of an amputee, I earned a spot to be part of something once again, okay, with a purpose. And that purpose is helping guys out in situations like mine. And that also led me to a spot where I'm leading once again. You see what I'm getting at here? I'm filling these voids in of what I lost when I took my uniform off for good. Okay, and I still work with that organization today. I've been a part of them for almost 6 years.
It's a great organization, and they're doing great things. And I think they do for everything that they do for veterans, which I love. What they're showing the world our veterans can do is just as important. And I've done those I did a Spartan Beast, and I'll tell you, I said I'll never do it again for different reasons, because I watched, like, pardon me, soccer moms, you know, kind of skipping out on obstacles, and I was like, screw this, I'm not doing this. But I think that when they do those things, and they've got the mask on, and they've got the helmets on, and they're in full kit, which is the right way to do it, you sit there and you're like, okay, you're showing the world that we're not done, that we're not broken, and we don't just, don't put us on a pedestal and admire us when it's okay for you guys. Don't think that we're superheroes because we did something. Understand who we are and what we're doing right now. And I love that.
We're still fighting the good fight.
Absolutely.
There.
Absolutely.
And
love it.
This organization, you know, like I said, there's a mission in it, helping guys like this, but I feel like I'm getting more out of this than what we call our honorees, the people we're assisting and helping. And I never thought I would type up an op order again, but I'm excited. The first time I was a TL for an event, here I am typing up an op order. I was like, I never thought I was fucking do that. You know what I mean? Like, but it's pretty neat, though. It's like a lot of, you know, one of the things to be a masked athlete, to be a team member, is one, you have to be current or still in the military. And two, we just opened up the door to law enforcement.
Yeah, I saw that on your website.
Yep, law enforcement, we're brand new with them. We just took in some of our athletes, some law enforcement to Tunnels to Towers. We ran it 2 weekends ago in New York City. And NYPD detective who was there on 9/11. One of our other honorees was a Gold Star. I'll call her a Gold Star mother. Her husband is firefighter Jeffrey Olson, who died on 9/11, and she's a huge supporter of what we do, and she's a stud. She, you know, outruns the hell out of us. But anyway, this filled my life with purpose again. And 3 things I want to talk to you guys about, okay? 3 things that I like to tell my audience that I think we need to live a healthy and happy life. One, okay. I like to call it the 3 Ps. You need a purpose. Self-explanatory, guys. You need a purpose in your life. On top of that purpose, find a passion. I look at the military, for an example. I was an infantryman, blue cords. You look at the Marines, globe and anchor tattoos. And with that passion, you must be a part of something bigger than yourself. And I use OEW for an example. You know, and I'll even go back to passion. Fitness is now a big passion of mine, and it helps me train myself to help lead these guys who want to step out of their comfort zone and push themselves. So it developed into a passion because that leads right to the purpose. See how it's a full circle like that?
Absolutely.
So how do we
find what's interesting though about what you just said specifically just now is this show is sponsored in part by the Second Mission Foundation, and we know a lot of military-friendly nonprofit organizations. In a weird sense, they almost have that Debbie Downer feel to them, where it's like, oh, veteran suicide, homelessness, and all this other stuff. And Charlie Faint, who we're very close with, JC and I, we spoke in detail about his organization. And one of the things is it's not to be the Debbie Downer. It's supposed to be more the uplifting aspect of, yeah, you are out now. you have a second mission, and you might not know what it is yet, but we could help you find it. But how do you find it? What are you passionate about? And by the way, it's not just what are you passionate about, how much are you willing to contribute to the outside world, i.e. the civilian world. You know, and there's so many little aspects that we as veterans can provide to our civilian counterparts, especially the kids, you know, in our local communities. I mean, you got an amazing story. JC's got an amazing story. I mean, hell, there's people in the NFL and the NBA that come to JC because they want to know, hey, what's it mean to be a leader? You know, because he's got a remarkable story from his leadership roles. You have your remarkable story from what you have adapted and overcame, the big logo, you know, that we always hear about in the military, adapt and overcome, you know. And it's what you just said to me, it really gels so well with the Second Mission Foundation. And I'm glad that you said what you just did, because it's true. And more people need to hear it all the time.
I want to go beyond those 3 P's right there, because I always say, okay, we have the list of the 3 P's we need in our lives. Okay, and you mentioned something. I can't even remember what it is, but it always leads me onto my ideas of how to find those 3 P's. All right, 3 things I think you need to change the attitude. If you have a shitty attitude, you are not going to move forward at all. All right, that's pretty common sense. Number 2, you have to step out of your comfort zone. If you stay stagnant, you're never going to move forward. Okay.
Right.
And that's just, I mean, the only way you're going to ever find what you're thriving for in life is by trying something new. It's the only way how. And number 3,
you got to learn to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. You know, all those things I've done, like, I wouldn't be where I'm at. We'll just say that I wouldn't be where I'm at right now after losing my job. I didn't step out of my comfort zone. And number 3, I truly believe you must connect with people. Now, you mentioned before about guys when they got out of the military in civilian life. I truly believe one of the biggest struggles we face mentally is post-traumatic stress is real. Don't get me wrong. I am not bashing post-traumatic stress and saying it doesn't exist, because I truly think it does. But I think some of the biggest struggles that our military face is finding the new purpose when that uniform comes off. Now think about this. Most of us join as soon as we become an adult, okay? So whether it's just 3 years or 30 years, your whole adult life is combat boots and a rifle, okay? So when you take that uniform off, it's easy to get lost. What do I do with myself now? Where do we move forward from that? Okay? And I think that is the hardest part. And people tend to isolate themselves and the Uncle Rico syndrome, or they put themselves on a pedestal of, you know, I was in the military, I don't need help. I was a Green Beret, or a recon Marine. I don't need any help like that. I'm like, dude, that's where I go back to the self-destruction. Get off the pedestal, Uncle Rico. You're going to self-destruct. Okay, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be vulnerable. I don't give a shit who you are. All right. Yeah. And I'm going to show you guys something real quick. This is just a little keychain of what I have here, and it's a cinder block with a chain around it. Okay, I have a real big cinder block with a chain around it too. I carry around with me on some of my races with this other organization I work with called Oscar Mike. And her name is Cindy, and she has meaning. What Sydney represents to anybody out there, I don't care if you're military, I don't care if you're high school athletes, you're going to face some type of adversity in your life. But sometimes, as humans, we don't like to be vulnerable, okay? And I think it's human nature. Sometimes we don't want to show it because it might show a sign of weakness. Now, I'm not saying if something's bugging you, you go tell the whole world. But in the right setting, someone you could trust, understand this way of adversity, that Cindy, we all have a Cindy, guys, and that weight of adversity we have, you don't have to carry it alone. You know, especially being part of a team. That us momentum, that us atmosphere that you're in, because it's always about us. Whether it's in a combat situations, whether it's on the football field, the adversity you're facing affects everybody.
Yeah.
So when we run our races carrying Cindy, we all take turns carrying it.
Brother, I got to jump in because you're speaking so much truth right now, and I want to tie some of this stuff together. So the changing the attitude. So let's start here, right? I believe, and I talk to people about kind of having a stool with three legs. The stool is your life, and you got three legs at school. You got your personal life, you got your professional life, and you got your health. Okay, that's just me. That's just how I see it, right? You were at a time when all three of those legs were jacked up. They had big chunks taken out of them for various reasons, and your stool was real wobbly. And I think we focus sometimes on the wobbliness of the stool instead of repairing the legs. You know what I'm saying? We focus on the. I think that's the me versus we, right? I'm talking about. Damn, my stool's all off. It's not working. This is a shitty stool. Instead of, okay, I got to work on this leg first, and then I'll work on this leg, or I can work on these legs at the same time, and we all get there. And I guarantee you, it's cyclic. Like we go through this all the time. But you talked about three things, and I want to talk about these things. Change the attitude. Look, I'm 100% with you. But changing an attitude, as you know, and the reason that you can change your attitude is because you were trained to change your attitude. It takes training. Just like it takes training to do 100 push-ups, it takes training to take take your mindset and go, this sucks, to I wish it would suck more. Right? That was trained into you, on Sand Hill. That was given to you. And a lot of times we tell athletes, hey, you got to change your attitude. Well, it ain't that simple. It takes, hey, coach, you got to take some time with your athletes, and you got to get them to start thinking differently. And that's training, right? We train our bodies. We take care of our bodies. We use our equipment. We take care of our equipment. We rarely work on the mind. We think it just follows, and it like controls all of it. So I think that's an important piece. Your movement piece, right? Look, it's clear. Growth only happens when we move. Nothing ever grows if it's stagnant, right? Not only does it not grow, it gets stinky. So you got to move. And I don't care what direction you move in. Right, left, front, back, I don't care. If you got to go backwards to go forwards, drive on. That's cool with me, but you got to do something.
Yes.
And then this, I want to connect two things here, because you talked about passion, and I talk to organizations about passion all the time. I think we got to be really careful with passion, because a lot of what you talk about with veterans, and I see it. Look, I'm working with a professional football player right now. He has a passion for football, right? The problem is football don't give no passion back.
Okay.
Football, when you're done with football, it's done with you. In the military, you can be passionate about, like I see a lot of my brothers who I served with, right? They were Rangers, or they were in Special Missions Unit, and they were passionate about that. And you know what? They're gone. Those units are still driving on, and they do nothing, right? Because you lose, because what you got to save your passion is, and here's where it ties in. Here, I think you're saying the same thing I am, because you say you must connect with people. And I'm saying, if you're going to be passionate about something, be passionate about people, because people will return passion back, right? I left the military after 20 years of service, gave up a lot of stuff. My life is completely different now, right? From after 20 years of service. Some for the better, some for the worse. But when I left, the Army doesn't give a shit about me. They're driving on. In fact, even the stuff that I changed, they probably changed 3 or 4 times now. The people that are in the Army, they care about me, those people. So I think that connecting with people, and coaches, athletes, who's ever listening to this, if you're going to have passion, don't have passion for your sport, because eventually, your sport ends. Service ends, football ends, lacrosse ends. Maybe you can play tennis or paddle shuffleboard till you're like whatever.
JC, let me interject real quick here.
Yeah, go.
I'm trying to process all this, because remember, I'm the coach that's being coached by you guys. All right.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is, from what you're saying, is learn to differentiate that which you love versus that which you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I always think I remember watching Mike Rowe give a piece once. He had a discussion about, it's good to have passion, but you also have to learn how to hang it up. And what I mean by that is, like, he was passionate. I forget what the example was. He had a passion for this, and people are always like, go follow your passion, go follow your passion. And people follow their passion, and they're in student debt. They can't find a job. And
Yeah.
I'm passionate in art, so they spend $600,000 on art school, and they can't find a job. You know what I mean? And I don't mean something like that. I mean, find a passion. Like, okay, like I said, my passion turned into fitness. So, but that fitness is free. You know what I mean? I guess, and because I understand what you're saying. Like, there's a day you're passionate about the Army. There's a day when you got to hang the Army up, and the Army's going to keep going.
Yeah.
But like you said, passionate about the Army, I found a culture that is similar to the military Operation Enduring Warrior, was brought me back to something I missed. You see what I mean? Like,
and so I would argue, I might challenge you if I was working with you, I would say you may enjoy working out, but you work out the way you do because you're passionate about the people that you work out with. And if those
absolutely.
those people were making paper airplanes, you'd be passionate about making paper airplanes.
Yeah.
Very good point.
But to me, and I think that's what we've got to take away is that passion has got to be about people. And if we start thinking about that, I mean, let's take it to a larger audience, right? I see all sorts of guys passionate about the American flag, but if they were passionate about people, we wouldn't have this American flag kneeling, and people would just go, I totally get why you're kneeling. Hey, we should probably fix that shit. But we're passionate about a piece of cloth, right? We're passionate about things. We're passionate about us, the things that it's about me, not we, as opposed to passion for others is about we, not me. And now I say, I'm passionate about my fellow human being. Yeah, I totally understand why you're kneeling. Let's figure out how we fix that shit.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, I totally understand why you're doing whatever.
And most coaches, it's kind of bizarre to say it, but I don't think most coaches, in the sense that we're talking, I don't think they're passionate about coaching. I think they love coaching. They're passionate about the children,
People
the team, the professional athletes, what have it, because it's a human aspect. That's what you're passionate about. I think, JC, that's what you're really hitting, driving that point home is, look, you can be passionate about an activity. You can love an activity, which could be a job. It could be just walking in the woods. That could be love. But what you're passionate about is those whom are obtaining an impact from that love. The two are separate, but they do work in harmony with one another.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Man, we went over an hour.
Well, how could you not? I could listen to this freaking guy all day long.
Dude,
I kind of want him to come over to the house and drink beer now because I want to hear more shit.
Well, here's where I'm at right now.
Well, next time you're in New York, you're coming. We're hanging, definitely.
Well, if that happens, I'll drive him because he doesn't like to drive.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But here's what's crazy. So recently the football season ended for the recreational team that I coach, and I spoke to a couple of the coaches, and I spoke to some friends of mine that have been involved in football in a really unique way, from Hall of Fame football coaches to college coaches. One of them's actually in the NFL as an NFL coach. And I told these folks I'm going to do a camp this year, 1 week, 100% free of charge to all the kids. I will get a school bus if I have to go to all their houses to pick them up, take them to camp, and drive them all home. Like, it's just going to happen. But once a day, I want to bring out key personalities to be around the kids and help them see that life is more than just football. Life is more than, believe it or not, and I know administrators and parents are going to hate me when I say it, but life is more than just going to school right now. You know, life is about living in the moment and making the best out of whatever situation you're dealt with. And really, by me bringing that up right now, is I would love one day to have the two of you guys come out to that football camp. And obviously, whatever expenses you would have, I would put it out of my own pocket and, you know, take care of it. But at the end of the day, there's folks in this world whom America doesn't know anything about. Some think they do. Many make assumptions, but the truth is they don't. And I think there's people here today, specifically the two of you, that have so much to offer to today's youth in particular, but equally to parents as well, so they can understand, you know, what they're going through as parents. We know parenting is hard. It's just the way how it is. It's not easy, especially today. But with that, it's not impossible. And there's people that can provide you words of wisdom. You don't have to take those words of wisdom. The choice is yours, but there's still words of wisdom that you should probably want to listen to and process. So with that, Earl, I'd love to have you back on again sometime, brother. I know you do have a relationship with Oscar Mike. I'll make sure I put their link in the description of this, as well as any other link that you have. Just tell me what organizations you want, because that's one of the big things that JC and I are into. We have guests on, and you're affiliated with a specific organization, or you're a business owner, or you're affiliated with a church, or I don't care what you're affiliated with. We want you guys who are willing to come on and speak with us and our audience. I want to be able to promote what you guys are doing. So give us some organizations, some links that you want to talk about, brother.
Thank you.
And hey, if you're a coach and you're listening to this, or you're an athlete and you're listening to this, organize your team to pick one of these organizations. We've talked about a couple. We'll continue to talk about more. You know, get your team together and do a fundraiser for them. Do something for one of the, we're not going to tell you which one. We're going to have a list of them. Go ahead, pick something, give back to these guys who are absolutely going to give back to your athletes. And I don't care if you're a professional coach listening. I know that your organizations have the ability to do it, or you're a youth coach listening. Come on, let's help guys like Earl make a difference for other guys and and gals to make an impact on the people that you're coaching.
Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely, brother. So give us the organizations, man. Call them all out right now. Give a little quick 1-paragraph description, and I'll make sure I put them down in the descriptions as well, to the video and the podcast that we put out.
Excellent. So Operation Enduring Warrior, our mission is to honor, empower, and motivate our wounded and disabled veterans and law enforcement, continue to live an active lifestyle and be a part of a team just like when they're in that uniform, and not let those disabilities define them. They're going to define themselves. Oscar Mike is radio journal for On the Move, where it's that simple. We keep our wounded and disabled veterans on the move, whether it's running Spartan races or little 5Ks. We have a wheelchair rugby team, and we have a compound where we take guys skydiving, teach them how to eat healthy and food prep, and even teach them how to fly a plane, a small little plane. This weekend, I'm running the Chicago Marathon with the Achilles Freedom Team. Check them out. When you mentioned Boston Marathon, that's why I ran the Boston Marathon with the Achilles Freedom Team, and they help disabled veterans run marathons and other even shorter races as such. They're a global organization, and they started with people with disabilities, and the Freedom Team is a chapter that started after 9/11 with our wounded and disabled veterans. But all veterans are welcome. You don't have to be a global war and terrorism veteran. And last one I want to talk about is Warrior Strong. Warrior Strong is a new organization where I live, and it provides fitness for veterans and their family members. Very small organization. The CrossFit box I work out at, Steamtown CrossFit, has built a partnership with them and helping them build their name up in the area. And we try to have free boot camp classes for veterans, free yoga classes for veterans and their family members, stepping them out. And because, hey, fitness is such a healthy thing for people, man. Get those endorphins out, and you always feel good when you're done. Let's be real. But guys, I got to tell you something right now.
Hey, let me ask you real quick, Earl. With that, I need the contact information from those guys because JC, I think what would be cool is a cool show about fitness for performance type of show. A lot of coaches today are just telling their kids or their professional athletes, even, well, not so much professional, but younger generations are like, hey, just work out. Most kids don't even understand why they're working out and why the movements that they do are either benefiting or not benefiting their performance in the specific sports that they're working on and all. So Earl, if you can, man, get me that contact info, because again, if it's military friendly and it has anything to do with athletics, coaching, sports, parenting, whatever it is, I want them on the show, brother. And if we can support them by getting them on the show and give them a little bit of airtime, hell yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to give you contact info of my buddy, Jonathan Lopez. He's a huge, big teammate of mine in OEW and the Achilles Freedom Team. I think his voice would be great for your show.
Awesome.
So, well, we can talk about that offline, but
that's awesome.
Before I lose you, I'm at 1% right now. My phone is not holding its charge right now, I think because it's strong. But before I lose you, I just want to say, guys, thank you again. By all means, man. It's my honor to be here, man. And I would love to be back on. So please.
All right. Well, count on it, because there's more to learn from you, brother. There's a lot more to learn from you.
Well, I appreciate it, gentlemen, very much.
We're going to lose Earl here in a second. So I just want to do a shout out to our sponsors, Z-Bones, right there, folks. JC, I told you I was going to get you a pair of Z-Bones, man, otherwise known as bone phones, because I hate those damn headphones that you're wearing. I can't do stuff that goes into my ears because I have tinnitus, and due to being overseas, military and all, I have ear issues. Stuff inside my ear doesn't work. I need stuff actually outside, and I'm telling you, man, this stuff works. Well, I got a pair coming to you real soon, brother. So it's zbones.io/coach. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great day. Seize it, baby. Brought to you in part by the Second Mission Foundation.